Hello, my name is Jeremy Latson, and I am the immediate past president of the Atlanta Canes community. Welcome to our, sorry, that sounds so robotic. I didn't pre-read the script. Welcome to our first Canes Conversation, and welcome to the neighborhood event. I would like to welcome you tonight on behalf of the Atlanta Canes Executive Board. I would like to recognize a couple of additional alumni leaders in attendance tonight. Patricia Morgan, President of UM's Black Alumni Society, and Dean Myers, President Council Member. Thank you both for supporting the U and your Atlanta Canes. Where's Dean? There you are. All right, our community represents more than 3,000 alumni. We're thrilled that you registered and are here tonight. Since 2019, the Atlanta Canes community has fundraised more than $10,000 and awarded 3 scholarships to first-year area students. I'm proud of the events we hosted, including numerous game watches, a pep rally at Live at the Battery, Veterans Day Community Service Project with the Atlanta Knolls, a voter registration drive with Savannah State University alumni, virtual cane conversations, global networking, and finally, we had teams for the Susan G. Komen Walk and Walk MS Atlanta. Thank you again for all the supporters who made these events a success, and we look forward to many more successful events to come. Tonight's panel features a few of our very own Canes Biz owners. If you are unfamiliar, Cane Biz is an online directory of UM alumni-owned and operated businesses. Whether you are new to Atlanta or have been here for years, consider navigating the directory to support fellow local hurricanes. There are categories from real estate to travel, retail, and pet care, and everything in between. The directory is always being updated, so check back often. And if you're a business owner, consider listing your company for others to see. Now, I am pleased to introduce the moderator for tonight's program, fellow board member and Atlanta Canes president, Joshua Gray. Joshua Gray is a native of Atlanta, Georgia. He graduated from the University of Miami with a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering and a minor in Sociology. Joshua worked as an industrial automation consultant from 2012 to 2020 and then launched 2 businesses. He is the co-founder of JJ Real Estate Group and Cleanliness Cleaning Services based in Atlanta. And with that, I'll turn it over to Joshua.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for that introduction. Welcome, Canes. How's everybody doing this evening? Good, excellent. Please keep that energy up. We're going to have a good time. We have a great conversation ahead. We've been working for quite some time on this, so we're really excited about the things we have coming. So tonight we are going to be joined by a panel of UM alum and Atlanta residents to lead a conversation about community and wellness. They have a variety of experiences and perspectives that are sure to leave you with many practical takeaways. So let's meet them now. Speakers, please make your way to the front. We'll start off with Felicia Hell. Felicia Hell is the Equipment Strategy Lead for the North American Operating Unit at the Coca-Cola Company. She assumed this role in early 2021 and is a general manager for the Freestyle business while also leading the long-term strategy for beverage equipment solutions for the company. Before assuming her current role, she served as the commercial strategy leader for the Freestyle business. She serves on the Alumni Board of Directors for the University of Miami and holds a degree in marketing from the U. Let's give her a round of applause. Coming to the stage next is Ms. Dr. Kim Hires, is known internationally for her work on burnout, leadership, and education. Let's give her a round of applause. She is a leadership burnout coach, speaker, author, and host of the Leadership Antidote podcast. She founded the Nightingale Firm in 2014 after surviving burnout and recognizing that leaders are seldom trained on how to ensure their well-being. Can all relate to that, right? She completed her PhD through the College of Nursing at UM. Please let's give her another round of applause. Next, we have Kiara Johnson. Kiara Johnson owns ATL Kula Wellness Studio in Atlantic Station with her husband, Corey. Please give her a round of applause. Kiara is also the owner of Salt and Kelper, an analytics consulting company helping organizations use data analysts to thrive. After leaving her hometown of Carrollton, Texas, she received a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and Finance and Management Science from the University of Miami. Please let's give her another round of applause. And last but not least, Abby Griffith. Abby is a graduate of UM's College of Engineering. Everybody's here now. Abby is a College of Engineering. Abby owns Clarity Fitness, Georgia's first body positive, weight inclusive, eating disorder informed gym. She is an NASM certified personal trainer, nutrition coach, and eating disorder recovery who has devoted her life to helping people of all ages, shapes, and sizes find a wellness routine that they truly enjoy. Abby sees the dangers that comes from obsession in fitness and nourishment and believes that it's time for us to see our bodies in a positive and empowered way, regardless of the numbers on the scale. Let's give her a round of applause, everybody. Alrighty, so welcome panelists. Before we begin our conversation, we want to get to know our panelists and our audience. So we're going to play a quick game called This or That, right? So I'll give you two options, and I want everybody to raise their hand for this or that. Make sense? Everybody's good? Okay. All right? All right, first, Moe's Southwestern Grill or Willie's? So raise your hand if you prefer Moe's. Oh, okay, all right. How about Willie's? Okay, all right. Split room. Okay. All right, this is a good one, but this is kind of new versus old, right? New Atlanta versus old Atlanta. Piedmont Park or Westside Reservoir Park? Piedmont Park? Piedmont, okay. Westside? Yeah, I mean, I still haven't been yet, so yeah. It's that new, right? It's that new. Okay, all right, this one's a trick question. Pepsi or Coca-Cola? Excellent. All right. Green or orange? Green? Orange? Okay, all right, good. All right, and now, how about Orange Bowl or Hard Rock? Orange Bowl. Okay, and last but not least, of course, this is our welcome to the neighborhood, so we know we have a lot of people who have recently moved. So please raise your hand if you've been in Atlanta for less than 2 years. Okay, awesome. And everybody else are old heads, right? Yeah, okay. Excellent. All right, thank you all for participating, right? All right, panelists, so we'll go ahead and get into it. So the very first thing, we want to define what does wellness mean in your own life and in your places of work? So let's define and prioritize what does that mean to you. Who wants to take the first question? This is for all the panelists.
For me, I would say it's been being anchored holistically. So not just like a physical fitness, but for me it's being anchored in family and in my faith. It's church on Sundays. It's being grounded in those most important things as well as the physical and mental health. So very holistic approach, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. I'll piggyback on that. I have a similar view, mind, body, and spirit. So it's really about how I feed every aspect of my whole being so that I show up as the best Felicia, the best employee for Coca-Cola, the best wife, the best mom to 2 teenagers, which is hard. And so for me, it's about feeding mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, and I'll definitely echo that. It is certainly holistic, and I'll take it a few steps further and say that it's physical, mental, emotional, but also financial and relational. We underestimate the amount of stress that can come with financial wellness as well. And the other aspect of wellness for me is it's constantly evolving. So what I needed wellness to look like in my 20s looked very different in my 30s. It looks different in my 40s. And so getting comfortable with the fact that wellness is not stagnant or linear, that it's constantly changing. Yeah.
I would echo that. I feel that one thing moving through eating disorder recovery that really helped me to find my place in wellness was figuring out that while it's different year to year, it's also different person to person. So what may work for someone else for food, what may work for someone else for fitness, spirituality, mental health doesn't have to also fit me and doesn't have to fit you. And figuring out what lights your fire and gets you excited about wellness is important. So playing with that is a key, I feel like, too.
Excellent. Thank you for those responses. Good stuff, right? All right, all right. So next, this one is directed towards Abby and Kim. As we're emerging out of the COVID pandemic, can you share on one your reflections, your experiences as one as business owners, and what did you keep from the pandemic that you kind of you maintain that now in your day-to-day business operations?
For Clarity Fitness, we talked about this. We both unfortunately opened businesses right before the pandemic. So I was in January 2020, and just being able to shift gears quickly, I feel like was tough, but also we were in a really excellent position to be able to do so because we didn't have things locked in for decades on end. So being able to be lenient with different things and making shifts quickly and working on our feet, we created a virtual personal training platform that has survived since COVID and has been a really cool segue into people figuring out what works for them. So sometimes getting to the gym in the morning doesn't make sense, and sometimes we don't have time or we don't want to or we don't have the energy, and being able to take that as an opportunity to tune in as well is a double win. So we've really liked that and kept that past COVID.
Excellent.
Yeah. For me, with the business that I'm in, so I help leaders recover from burnout or organizations to prevent burnout. Business boomed during COVID, and part of that is with COVID being the ultimate black swan event, right? It disrupted everything at a level that we couldn't have predicted, right? I've sat in the rooms and looked at the models, and we didn't predict this much disruption. And what it has really done is it has forced people to reprioritize and think about, what do I want life to look like? It reminded everyone of how fragile life really is. We've never been afraid to go outside before. This has been a very different experience. And so what I've taken from it is really trying to help the leaders and their teams sort of build a bridge and have a conversation that work doesn't have to be at war with wellness. We can have a conversation because I, for one, loved what I did and I still burnt out. So if you experience burnout, it doesn't mean that you don't love what you're doing. All it is it's just a signal that I can't keep working this way. So now let's have the conversation about how can we work differently so that we can love what we do, love our lives, and enjoy all of the things that we have. So,
Excellent, excellent. So let me also ask you this to kind of piggyback on that. So I know we learned a lot about I think like social interactions post-COVID, so we're all kind of re-emerging and trying to come back. So how has that affected your places of businesses and what you do when you're operating with your teams?
I'll start.
Yeah.
Great question. So I lead a pretty large team, and I love what you said about the Black Swan event. I'm going to use that. This has been just an incredible last 3 years, and one of the things that I'm trying to really promote for my team is, show up as you are. And as we start to think about, we're all in different phases of life. I'm raising teenagers. I have folks on my team that have toddlers, aging parents, etc. And what wellness looks like is different for everyone on my team. And really being open to collaborating around, shared journeys, what that looks like for others. Travel has started to pick up for us, and so there's this new dynamic of, man, I've been at my home office and I've had this like nice routine, and now you need me to come back to the office? Like, what does that mean? And battle hour traffic. And so I've really just tried to give grace. I'll be honest with you. The business results are always going to be at the forefront of most corporations in terms of like, we got to make sure we're driving the results. But the way that I'm going to do that is by giving my team members grace to really make sure that they're able to be there for their kids, if it's to get them on the bus in the morning or to take mom to the doctor at 3 o'clock, et cetera. So what this has forced is us to really reprioritize, to your point, and it's driving greater engagement from my team, and I'm really excited about that. I'm the leader that I want to work for.
Yes.
That's really my philosophy.
Yes. Say that again. Say that again.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's my philosophy.
I can definitely relate to that. Yeah. Excellent. Anybody else want to share, add anything on top of that? Okay. Not a problem. So, you all, in preparing for this conversation, some of our panelists said some very interesting thoughts about the idea of conscious capitalism, right? Are we all familiar with that? Fairly? Yes? No? Okay. Fine. So Felicia and Kiara specifically, can you all share what that is and how that how do you practice that in your life and your business?
Yeah, I think it's people caring where their dollars go. I mean, money makes the world go round, and these last 2-3 years unveiled a lot of ugly truths that were already there, some we didn't know were there. So I think people look up things. They're like, who is this company? Who do they support? Who do they give to? And are they creating a world that is good for me? And I think that's what it is. Being a wellness business, we definitely keep that in the forefront of our mind. We want to make sure we're tackling issues that really do help people. So that's why we started our foundation, pursuing things like mental health, food deserts, affordable housing. So we want to be that company that people know, like, hey, we're here for you. We're trying to build a better world for you in the future.
Could you speak a little bit more about your foundation? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. It's the Kula Care Foundation. So the vision is to give hope and freedom to every family. So we started, like you, we started March 14th, 2020. We closed Monday, that following Monday. Insane timing. But I'd say the good thing that came out of it is we looked at everyone. So there are some people that can never make it to a studio. The type of job where they work, they don't have the time. They don't have the money. Like, what can we do for those people? And that's when the Kula Care Foundation was birthed. So if you follow us, if you've heard about us, we have these huge Wellness Wednesday classes every week on the Green in Atlantic Station. 100 plus people open to the community. We've had Microsoft as a sponsor, Lululemon as a sponsor. So we have our first big community day coming up where we're commemorating a trail, beautifying a trail in the city of South Fulton. So we're so excited just to build physical things in the community, tiny home communities one day, gardens to address food deserts. Like, we're really going there. So we're excited.
I love it. I love it.
That's awesome.
And Felicia,
Congratulations.
could you speak about conscious capitalism and what Coke does around that?
Yeah, I love this question, and it forced me to dig deep and really think about Coca-Cola and what we really hope to stand for and what I believe we stand for. So back in 2019, there was really, from our most senior leaders in the company, a reset around really defining Coca-Cola's purpose. And that is to refresh the world and make a difference. So sounds pretty broad and general, but it goes deeper beyond the beverages that are part of our portfolio. We have a strategy around beverages for life, which is there's a beverage for your recovery after your workout through our core power brands. We have a dairy line through Fairlife, Smart Water, Powerade, Body Armor now, and obviously our sparkling beverages, which most people know the company for, but the portfolio is pretty broad, and it's really anchored in making sure that we have a beverage for every occasion for our consumers. And so that refreshing the world, though, is much deeper than just refreshing or quenching your thirst, right? So we start to really think about refreshing the communities that we serve, refreshing the planet. So there is a big focus right now around sustainability and reducing our carbon footprint. I lead our dispensed business, which we talked about. So it's everything that's outside of a bottle or can. So if you think about some of the sustainability pressures and folks are more conscious, how many of you walk around with a hydro flask or a Yeti or, right? That is absolutely, consumers are more and more conscious, and so we're really looking to broaden that particular portfolio because, again, it's about that carbon footprint, how we reduce that. So that's part of our purpose and our journey. And then ultimately, the employees are at the center of all of this. And so how do we make sure, which I talked a little bit about earlier, that we are refreshing the mind, body, and spirits of our associates as well, by offering things like flexible work schedules. That is new for our company. That has really been birthed out of the pandemic and what that's brought. Our office is still not at 100% capacity, right? There's certainly more of an openness around your work your way, which is really the philosophy. And so we're trying to embody this notion of really making sure that we are who our consumers and employees need, and the planet as well, for the longevity of our business.
Excellent. And Felicia, and when we had our earlier conversations, you mentioned something about the 4 C's. It's the 4 C's or the 3 C's?
The 3 C's.
It was a really good morsel. I can't recall what it was exactly.
So good that I don't recall it.
Okay.
It'll come back to me.
It'll come back. No problem. We'll be here,
I
right?
started in sales, so
She sold it, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to move on. So everybody, again, tonight's event is really welcome to the neighborhood. We really want to welcome all the recent graduates. So we have some people from the class of 2022 in the house. Yeah. So one of the things we want to do, give our panelists an opportunity to kind of speak. Abby and Kiara, I know you all are fairly, I guess, the most recent people to the city. We're all old heads here. Could you share some advice for those who are new to Atlanta? Just some good gems for them. Welcome them to the city.
I would say find your community first. I thought I was going to be here in and out, year and a half. LJ, who's actually a board member, he's really big on community. I appreciate you so much. Find your community. I met my husband through LJ because they went to high school. Now we've got a baby on the way in February. Got married 4 years ago. All listed out of order. Opened our wellness studio. So out of that was birth relationships, life. I just felt like I had family here, and business ventures. So just find your community. It's the best thing.
Totally agree. And I know on the fitness side specifically, a fun takeaway that we've really leaned on is a platform called ClassPass. So obviously I'm a big fitness person. I love finding community through movement and figuring out what I like to do. And ClassPass is a really cool way for you to be able to sample a lot of different studios, a lot of different movement styles without being locked into anything. So you literally just pick a place, pick a class, and you go to that class, and then you can go to a different place, a different class the next day. And that really allows you to find your people and find what you enjoy. And I know that I wish that someone had told me when I moved to Atlanta to also give it time. I know that I expected to have my best friends right immediately, and thinking about how I miss people that I knew in college, and just, oh right, that relationship took 4 years to build, kind of thing. Just a reminder to give myself some grace and some space to find my people when the time is right. So that's what I would say.
Oh, thanks. I was just having a conversation with Abby. She's still out there. We literally talking about how college is a bubble. Like, you have everybody there, your friends, you go to lunch, you go to dinner, you see each other all the time, but when you're out in the real world, it's active, right? You got to actively make those connections. So welcome you all. I hope you all take those gems with you, right? All right, so we also have some audience members who have started their careers recently, or they're moved into a new company or a new role. So Felicia and Kim, what advice do you have for new or transitioning professionals?
Sure. Well, to expand on what Abby and Kiara said, really expanding your concept of community. I always encourage early careerists, find mentors, but not just mentors with your career, but mentors who have lives that you respect and lives that you would want for yourself. So in order to do that, that may mean that you have to reach outside of your industry. I have mentors across industries. I have mentors who are really, really talented in their careers, but they may not necessarily have the personal life that I want. So I found mentors that had the personal life that I wanted, because there were things that, I wanted to do. And so I needed to see how that could be modeled. That's one thing. The second thing I would encourage early careerists to do is to pay attention if you start to isolate yourself. One of the signs that you are getting stressed out and that you are approaching burnout is you start to isolate. When our brains are tired and taxed and stressed, we write very isolating narratives. All of a sudden, you're canceling on friends. You don't want to go out. You don't want to do things. Be careful with that. That's all the more reason to go, oh, you know what? I need to find my community even more. I need to make sure that I'm nurturing those relationships, because it's the healthy relationships that will help you get through the hard part of your career. When you're new and you're fresh, everything is a priority. Take it from us seasoned folks, everything's not a priority. And the place won't fall apart if you don't do it all at once. We promise you that. So yeah, that's what
Perfect.
That was great. That was great. I would just build and say, don't be afraid to ask for help or reach out. So it's this notion of community. I get fuel from folks actually wanting to connect with me and mentor or ask for mentoring relationships, or can you help me connect with such and such, or I really love the Coca-Cola company. I've had people shadow me, etc. I'm not unique in that, right? And so I would just encourage you to plug in. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to reach out. And if you find that you need advice, or like, it's this whole notion of like 6 degrees of separation. Like, I'm sure we could all just name drop, and I'm gonna connect. I've got a person that works for Amazon, right? And so you want to break in, I will connect you and introduce you. And so that would be my advice, especially as you're early in your career. And if you find yourself in, man, this isn't exactly what I thought I wanted to do. I've kind of like found my way into this job, and is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Start to think about how you make that pivot and broaden that, and leverage your network to really help you explore. I found that early in my career. It was like this job I thought was going to be X, and it ended up not being that. So I was really intentional about, okay, let me seek out folks that are doing work that I think I would love to do and that I would be passionate about, and make those connections, and just call on your network. Especially when you're early in your career, folks are going to open that door for you.
Absolutely. I'm going to add a shameless plug. We do have a LinkedIn community, the Atlanta Canes, so I highly recommend make sure we are digitally connected. Okay, definitely check that out. Just saying, use your community, right? All right. And finally, we all love you. We all wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our cherished alma mater. I won't break out in the school song, of course. But how has your experience at the U influenced your life?
Sure. So I know for me, our senior project, I went to school for industrial engineering. So my senior project was actually building out my real life gym. And so it was really, really interesting to go into the University of Miami Fitness Center, where I worked as a trainer at the time, and figure out what worked, figure out what didn't. We did a lot of things to work to save them time and money and resources, and they were so helpful and arms wide open to connect me with resources that could help Clarity be birthed in Atlanta. And it was a really, really great experience to get to work with some great friends and use the alma mater and my amazing school to be able to further my own dreams in a real tangible way. So wouldn't be here without it.
Senior design projects, gotta love them.
Big time.
I would say that you just have so much energy. Like, of course, with the football and the 2-part documentary, you just haven't seen anything like it. And it just, I took from that when we like had the open, close, open. We're small, but we're mighty. And having that energy, I think, has kept us here. And that's just the you to me. It's energy. It's doing things big. It's being who you are. So that's what I took from it. Also, the diversity of culture, perspectives, backgrounds.
I'll definitely piggyback off of that. The global worldview is something to really celebrate and not take for granted. So prior to going into what I do now, I was a professor for 10 years. And I cannot tell you how valuable that global perspective. You see a problem and UM teaches you, think big. How is this going to impact the entire world? And then now I get to go into corporate spaces, international corporate spaces, and bring that perspective in a way that I took for granted. I thought everybody thought like this. They do not, trust me. And they pay me a lot of money to help them think like that. But it's something to really celebrate. And one thing that I say to anyone, if they tell me that they're thinking about going to Miami, I'm like, no. That worldview, you are getting your money's worth out of that education. It will open doors for decades later. Yeah.
I have a similar perspective, and it's really around the power of the community. So for me, it has been just the network, the doors that it's opened. I actually have a Miami girl on the back of my car around my tag. And I can't tell you how many people stop me if I'm in Publix or et cetera, right? So it's like, it is like, we talk about Coca-Cola being like a door swinging brand. I view the university as such, right? And so as you start to think about just the pride and the swagger that comes with, you know, where we went to school, and really making sure that we lift as we climb the rest of the community of Canes. And so for me, it's been that door swinging.
Yes. Yes.
Door swinging, indeed.
Yes.
Thank you all so much for your responses to that. Let's give them a round of applause. We do want to give the audience members a chance to ask the panelists some questions. So, Kristen? No? Yeah, you're coming to get the mic. So who has a question for the panelists? Don't be scared.
I do, yeah. I feel like I didn't get good pictures with it. It's good. I had a question, a burnout question. What were some, you mentioned some signs of like being, you know, you're feeling isolated. What are some other signs that, how do I know I'm approaching burnout?
Oh yeah. So the interesting thing about burnout, we tend to think of like engagement and disengagement, and then go, oh, they're disengaged because they're burnt out. And it's actually not that linear. Burnout actually exists on a spectrum, and there are 5 different profiles that you can have in addition to being in burnout. And so the 3 telltale signs that I look for are exhaustion. This is a level of exhaustion that you can't sleep off. You can't vacation it off. It is different, and that is because if work is causing the stress, right? So burnout is caused from poorly managed work-related stress. The thought of work makes your body activate the stress response. And so even when you are not physically at work, even when you can be miles away on a beach, if you think about work, your body will react as though you are at work. So that causes a level of exhaustion that you just can't get rid of by yourself. The second sign that I look for is cynicism. You get very negative about work. All of a sudden, do you hate what you do? Do you hate where you're doing it? The language changes about work, right? You get up and you're like, oh, I hate this job, but I live in Atlanta and I gotta pay for all this, right? So you develop sort of a negative attitude about work. And the third thing, and the one that breaks my heart the most, because we can work on the exhaustion, we can work on the cynicism. The one thing that breaks my heart the most is the loss of confidence. So really, really high achievers will suddenly be anxious about meetings and projects that they've done 10 times in their sleep. All of a sudden, your confidence gets shattered because you're so overwhelmed from the amount of work that you have to do. You start to go, I can't do it. I can't do it. And this whole chain response happens in the brain where suddenly it begins to stick. And you've ever walked into an office, I don't know if some of you have had this experience, your colleague just leaves their badge on the desk and they're gone. No sign, no nothing. And they bring me in and I'm like, no, there were signs. Let's look at absenteeism. How are they acting with other people? Were they short-tempered? Did you notice that they were struggling to write things down a lot? If you were once had a photographic memory and all of a sudden you have to write everything down, it's because you're so tired. So there's several things that we have to look at when it comes to what are some signs of burnout in addition to the isolating.
Next question.
Hello all. My wife couldn't be here today. She's a Georgia Bulldog anyway. So but anyway, so I brought my daughter instead. She's 12 years old in 7th grade. And just what advice do you have for her going forward as a young lady, looking for prospective college because she ain't got no choice? What advice do you have for her? I would like all the panelists to all ask that question.
I'll start. We met outside, and so I've got a 9th grader and an 11th grader. And I am pouring advice into them that I will give to you, and that is really like, the sky is the limit, right? I just beam with pride as I look at my children and like what the runway that is in front of them. And so walk into that with confidence and pride, right? Like, the choices that you make are going to be for you to chart this path, right? So as you finish middle school, as you study, as you prepare for high school, which will be a big step up in terms of, studying and kind of curating this schedule. So start to think about, the end goal and work your way backwards. And that's going to mean setting your schedule to be as robust as it can be to prepare you for those applications. And so it's never too early to start, right? Coming to this is amazing. I don't know if Dad had to drag you or not, but maybe. But stuff like this, and I'll share with you, you were a little bit nervous when you introduced yourself, and guess what? The more you do it, the easier it'll get. And that's what I'm telling my kids, is like, yeah, this is very intimidating. I, early in my career, would have never wanted to sit up on a stage like this and talk, right? The more you do it, the easier it gets. And so you're starting now, so by the time you get to your senior year and you have to talk to that admissions director, you will nail it. So, awesome.
Next question.
All right, so you all have what appears on the outside to be stressful careers, entrepreneurship, leadership, consulting. What is your self-care routine?
Passport stamps.
Same.
I travel. It is something therapeutic about pulling up to Hartsfield and getting out and knowing I'm getting on a plane, and it is just something about it. Yeah, we went to 5 countries in 4 months this year, so it's,
Wow.
I get out. Yeah.
Wine.
Jesus and like literally church being grounded in community and family have balanced out literally all the crazy. Getting that support, Sunday dinner with mom and dad, they tell you it's gonna be okay, even if it might not be. You believe it, and you need to hear it. So yeah.
Definitely. I have a new saying that I have to fill my cup in order to connect. And it's not a massive quote or anything, but it's very, very true. And when I can see, I'm no burnout expert by any means, learning a lot, but when I can feel myself feeling depleted instead of toughen up, get through it, it's like, slow down, let's take a second and listen. So that's been huge.
I'm going to add volunteering and pouring back into your community.
I'll give a real answer. It was really not wine. But for me, I'll be honest with you, it's sleep.
Quality.
It really is. Like, I make sure that I get my sleep. And I am unapologetic about it.
Good
So,
for you. Good for you.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Some good gems on there. Good gems on there. In our conversation about loans, right?
Another question? Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity. I actually have two questions. So my first question will be directed towards the business owners. When did you know when it was the right time to start or to step out? My second question is more on the mental health side. How do you balance maintaining mental health and being resilient? Because I feel like there's a thin line between the two. So yeah, thank you.
I'll tackle it. So the first question, remind me again, what's the first? The business side. So I grew my firm for 7 years while I was working at universities full time. Went all the way up to the rank of associate professor. And when my business replaced my university salary and started to cause me to have to turn down business, I was like, time to go. To your second question. So a conversation that I often have to have with leaders is that burnout has nothing to do with resiliency. The reality is by the time you are actually in full burnout, you have adapted for so long. It has nothing to do with resiliency. You're a highly resilient person, but we are human and we have limits. And so mental health, I like to separate the conversation sort of from resiliency and mental health, because the reality is we're all on the spectrum somewhere when it comes to mental health. And for some people, it can take one incident, one tragic event to happen. We all experience a global collective trauma, right? With COVID and everything changing all at once. And everything changed while we were all tired and exhausted. So when it came time to tap into that resiliency, we were all tapped out. We were running on fumes, and globally the research shows this. So when it comes to mental health, really think about, as Abby said, what do you need to do to refuel your tank? What works for Isaac, right? What is going to help you to feel restored and confident, and help your mentors, work with your mentors to help you learn how to have conversations about boundaries when it comes to work. Because in this market, nobody's firing anybody that easily, okay? So this is a good time to have a conversation about, well, what time is a good time for me to end work, right? When do I feel comfortable, like I put in a good day's work and it's time for me to sort of take a step back and the work will be there tomorrow. Because if it's one thing I tell clients, whether you're a business owner or you're an employee, the work is never going to get done. The moment I don't have work to do and I twiddle my thumbs, my whole team, we are getting together, we need to have a conversation, because that means there's no more business coming. Okay? So there's always going to be work to do. So accepting that truth and figuring out how do you work better so that you feel good about yourself.
Next question?
You wanted to
Oh,
answer?
yeah, sure. I was gonna say, ask for how to know, like, you maybe want to start a business. I would say, like, it becomes an itch that doesn't go away. Not that you ever want that kind of itch, but that's it becomes that sort of thing. It doesn't go away. It starts like, you just get this desire to know if you know, can do this thing for yourself, or, you know, whatever your why is. And I don't think that necessarily means you have to quit your job and go all in. I think that looks different for everybody. But I would say don't ignore it. If it doesn't go away, allow yourself to explore that. Maybe work for a startup, keep learning. But yeah, listen to it.
I will say this. I think I've grown the most, I feel like professionally wise in the nonprofit space. So taking that into prayer, try to be a balanced professional. I mean, you can be, you know, CEO, top level executive, but try to, let's say, pour into your community. Definitely take advantage of nonprofit opportunities. You know, I feel like I've grown so much within that space. I've been able to apply a lot of those skills in my day-to-day in entrepreneurship, running my own businesses, and it's just a lot of it is, you know, definitely look into it. Don't be afraid of the nonprofit. We need volunteers.
And I would say that there's really no, like, today is the best day on a spectrum of days my business and was like, okay, I did my homework, and this business plan is like 8 pages, like I've thought of everything, and then COVID happened, so wasn't in the business plan. So there's always new things to learn, and you'll figure it out. And obviously that doesn't, I'm not saying don't plan, I'm not saying rush into it, but there's never a time where you have learned absolutely everything and will make no mistakes. So
Yeah.
Next question. No other questions for our panel? Okay.
Thank you. Oh, there was a.
We will now welcome the President-elect, Ms. Sonique, to the stage.
We'll fight with this stuff now. No. All right. Hello, I'm Sonique Salesman. I am an assistant professor of nursing at Mercer University and excited to serve as president-elect for the Atlanta Canes. I want to say a special thank you to our panelists for this insightful and thought-provoking conversation tonight.